want to speak on Barcelona's left back position because we have been so focused on the striker position, the right wing, the left wing, what's going to be the future of the central defensive midfield position. We have talked about all of these other positions, right? But I do want to speak about the left back. And so look, one of the main reasons on why we never really assess the left back position is because we know that the player that sits there and is available is Alejandro Balde. And when we speak about Alejandro Balde, he's a untouchable player. There is no player right now that can touch what Alejandro Balde brings to FC Barcelona. This whole view about Alejandro Balde is very similar to how we used to see Sergio Busquets in the central defensive midfield position. We're like, yeah, we're not worried about the replacement of Busquets. Busquets is good enough. Like, it's okay. Like, you know, this is going to be another transfer window, but we don't need to bring someone in that can completely replace Sergio Busquets. He's here for the long run and he's untouchable, right? No one is as good as him. And the same energy is happening with Balde right now. There is no real definitive reinforcement for the player. And so obviously Balde has been so good that he has also been renewed recently, and he will be renewing until June 2028. Fabrizio Romano did state this: Alejandro Balde has renewed his contract until June 2028. The official announcement will be after the preseason tour is finished. And so this is great news for Balde and for us Barcelona fans, because Balde does have the capability to be the best left back in the world. Last season, I believe he was in the top 5 and maybe even in the top 3. But eventually, I strongly believe that Xavi will lead Balde to become the best left back in the world, and we're going to be here for it. And so last season, he did score 1 goal and provided 6 assists. If you look at when he did provide those assists and those goals, they were all in very definitive moments. Within his first 2 or 3 months of the season, he provided 2 assists against Elche, where Barcelona did win 3-0. The next game was against Real Betis. We all know how hard it is to win at Betis. Alejandro Balde was the one that provided the first assist on that night, and Barcelona ended up winning 2-1, but he made the 1-0 first. So from the very beginning, he was a true leader. And then we move on towards the next contribution, and he was the only one that provided an assist against Real Madrid. Fast forward from there, he provided 1 goal and provided 1 assist against Espanyol. That was the exact game where Barcelona did claim to be the winners of La Liga, and he was in the face of that. So he's extremely decisive, right? Very decisive. I can see why Barcelona renewed this player for a very long time, is because he is the future, and we can all agree on that safely. But here's the one thing that does really worry me, right? As much as I am praising this player, and as much as we all know how good this player is and will become, I hope that Balde does not get overused and eventually does get injured. Now, coincidentally enough, Balde right now is injured, but the last thing we want to see Balde do on the pitch is like get injured in the middle of the season. Luckily for us, Balde got injured in the last few games where Barcelona already won La Liga and the season was already wrapped up, which did not really matter to see like Balde get injured for about 2 or 3 months, because again, the season was over. But we want to stay away from Balde getting injured like in November or in December. That will probably be one of the worst things to see. Last season, Balde was ranked in 6th place when it comes to who had the most minutes at Barcelona. Balde played a total of 3,119 minutes. The only 5 players that did have more minutes than him was Koundé, Lewandowski, Frankie, Busquets, and Xavi. And I strongly believe that next season, we're only going to play even more games. We're probably going to be playing 7 to 10 more games if Barcelona do go deeper into specific tournaments, which I strongly believe Barcelona will. So more games are going to be demanded from the players. And then on top of that, after the next season is over, most of the Spanish players that we have are going to go straight to the Euros of 2024. Like the Euros is just right after the season is over. So can you see the amount of minutes and games Balde is going to be entering? This is something that Pedri did embrace 2 years ago, where he did play about 70 plus games within a span of 12 months. And then after that, he got injured. He got injured in the season that we just finished. He got injured in the season before that, and he was out for about 2 or 3 and sometimes even 4 months. And Xavi had to adapt his squad to the absence of Pedri. And this is why I strongly consider for Barcelona to look for a left back reinforcement and bring qualities that are very similar to Alejandro Balde. Now, I'm not saying that that next left back should be as good as Balde, but I also just want that next player to have just very similar qualities, and that's about it. I'm not trying to demand for a world-class left back like Alphonso Davies. Now, I know that we have a player named Marcos Alonso. Marcos Alonso has just been renewed, but he's more of a left back that can convert into a left center back than a left back who can convert into a left winger. I'm assuming that Xavi is going to want to work with the exact same system and have left backs that is able to sit up high and have one of the front players go into the midfield, like for example Xavi, or have a left back that can go into and overload the midfield and complete the 4-man attack. And this is also why I want to introduce Alex Valle. Alex Valle does give the solution towards having a inverted left back that goes into the midfield and completes the 4-man midfield. I know it's strange for me to talk about this player all of a sudden and also praise this player on what he could do, but let's slowly go into this. Alex Valle is also a left back that does represent FC Barcelona. He came through the academy since like he was 10 years old. Back on July 1st, 2022, around this time last year, he went from under 19 of Barcelona to Barcelona Athletic. And then on January 31st, which was 6 months ago of 2023, he went on a loan move to FC Andorra. He was there for 6 months, and just about 2 or 3 weeks ago, he returned from that club and now is back at FC Barcelona, but to be more specific, Barcelona Athletic. But not just that, not only is he back with Barcelona Athletic, but now Xavi Hernandez is convinced by the player and also took him to the US preseason games. And so yes, Alex Valle is here in the United States. And there's also a big report that did surface about Alex Valle, and this is what Sport had to say. The left back Alex Valle is fighting for a place in the squad and is gaining Xavi's trust. He offers a different profile, being a inverted left back like Zinchenko, for example. His youth coaches describe him as a hard-working player, discreet, and a friendly teammate. So again, this is very interesting, because if this is true, if Alex Valle is what everyone say he is, which is somebody that is very comfortable working in the midfield, being that fourth midfielder and overloading the midfield, that opens up a multitude of possibilities for Xavi's Barcelona. And just to give you guys a brief explanation on what that means, right? Zinchenko at Arsenal has been a success, and one of the reasons on why is because him going into the midfield overloads the midfield. It creates more attacking opportunities in the midfield, and it also provides much more space on the left flank when he does move in, because if he does move in next to Odegaard, one of the right wingers of the opposition usually follows Zinchenko. And what happens after that? That basically means that more space is going to be opening up on the left side. So let's take Barcelona, for example. If we have Alex Valle go into our system and he ends up being that fourth midfielder instead of Xavi, that would mean that Christensen would see much more space on the left side, and he can run up with the ball. Knowing how good Christensen is, he can do a lot of things with a lot of space and make a lot of key passes. Another thing that we could also do is Ansu Fati being dropped deeper, going into that open space that Alex Valle created, and just gain much more attacking opportunities. The opportunities is endless. And so if that's going to be the case, if that's going to be one of the plans, if Alex Valle does end up being the player that creates the overload in the midfield, that would mean that we no longer need Xavi to play on the left wing in some games. Maybe this time we can have Ansu Fati on the left wing with Lewandowski and Dembele. So it could look something like this, having our back three being Koundé, Araujo, and Christensen, with our four-man midfield being Frankie, Alex Valle, Gundogan, and Pedri. Because remember, the left back will be going inside, creating that numerical advantage in the midfield, and then our front three being Dembele, Lewandowski, and Ansu Fati on the left wing. So that would be a crazy system to implement, because now you're gonna have the opposition guessing, because they're gonna be like, okay, are they gonna be having Alejandro Balde starting or Alex Valle starting? Because depending on who starts, we're gonna have to readjust our game, and so we're going to become very unpredictable, which is why it's good news that Alex Valle is being considered by Xavi Hernandez, and he's working very hard. Because if this player works hard like everybody says he is, and he's very focused on his game, then we can take this player to a very high ceiling. This is why I cannot wait for the preseason. Now, coincidentally enough, our next preseason match is going to be against Arsenal, where Zinchenko is going to be at. They're also going to be probably implementing the exact same system, and maybe you guys can get a better idea on just how the left back would look like when he is given that role. It's going to be very interesting. Now, I don't think that Xavi Hernandez is going to immediately adopt this type of formation and system, but we could see this throughout the course of the game or throughout the course of this preseason that we have in the US. I hope that we continue to see players like Lamine Yamal also get more minutes, Mikhail Faye also get more minutes, and much more. So that is going to be wrapping up today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.